let's go back up to outputs and go down to the Facebook and wait for the billboard to come up that we modify. And there it is. And can we go with a delete? We sure can. And we can go with a delete. And up here we have our title. And hopefully this will stay up for the whole show. Sometimes it does not. Saturday evening news, and then we get our host, Ichard Slezak, and Saturday evening news on, let's see, where are we at? 6/5 propositions. Alrighty, here we go. Whoop, wrong one. And 3, 2, 1, bam. Now I'm going to get the camera looking at me over here, and hopefully we'll be on the screen some. And hooey, let's just get the portion of the recorded portion of the show up here. Well, no. What I'm going to do first is the weather. Uh-oh. Okay, let us, I got 8:14 radio start, and then we set up YouTube and Facebook. Now it's my HP 15 weather. Going to give you weather report. See this? We can do it on Facebook and YouTube, but Now let's go back here and do www.weather.gov. Alrighty-us. Boom. And National Weather Service should be one of America's favorite websites. And here we are looking at weather.gov, and what do we see? It's quiet over California. Nothing much is going on. So to the east of us in Nevada, we do have flash flood warnings throughout most of eastern Nevada. So the whole northeast quadrant is subject to flash floods right now. And oh my little thing is all over the page. And let's just go back up here, and we're going to go to Stockton now. Stockton, comma, space, CA, and looks good enough. And flash, presto converto. And we got a few clouds and 72 degrees. This is as of 8 p.m. It's humidity at 53%. And by the way, the location is latitude 37.88 and longitude 121.22. And then you'd multiply 0.88 times 60 to get the minutes. So that looks like at about 52 minutes. Then 0.22 times 60, 12, 13, that looks like about 13 minutes or thereabouts. Yeah, that's about right. And so we're looking at 37 degrees, 52 minutes north, and 121 degrees, 13 minutes west. Now, a minute, a second of latitude or longitude on average is 101 feet. And so a minute is 6,060 feet, also known as a nautical mile. Continuing. Wind is 14 miles per hour out of the west-northwest. Dew point is at 54 degrees Fahrenheit, visibility 10 miles. And let's see, are we going to be seeing that 54? Oh, no. Oh, yeah, we will later in the week. Here's the layout. Tonight, it's going to be mostly clear with a low of 55. Tomorrow, the 27th of May, forecast for Stockton, sunny with a high of 87. Sunday night, clear with a low of 60. Memorial Day, the 28th of May, will be forecast to be sunny with a high of 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 95 degrees on Monday. Monday night, mostly clear with a low of 63. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 95. Tuesday night, mostly clear with a low of 58. Wednesday, back to more seasonable temperature of 82. And Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low of 53. Ooh. Show. Getting coming along here. And that's finishing at 8:27. And where is that? Okay, let's get rid of that one. We can. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Secretary of State's website. Let's head on over here to get started with the mighty big show. Bam. And that's untitled, so we go to 2018-05-26, and that will be Saturday evening news. Alrighty-us. And it is 8:29 p.m. Do we have 8:29? Let's get up here and see what the time is on our favorite 8:29 p.m. starting our show. Bam. Good evening, world. You are webtuned to the voiceofstockton.org, KXVS Low Power FM Community Radio 2B. I am Richard Slezak. This is the Saturday Evening News. Going to be doing politics. Got an election coming up. And we have wonderful sponsors. We'd love for you to be one too. You're at the site, so if you're a business out there, get it promoted right here. You can come and you could do your own ads, and we'll play them multiple times a day, so you could really, our listeners would go and buy your stuff, partake in your services, and things would be better. And again, our phone number here is 467-4455. Our street address is 231 West Bedford Road. We are the voice of Stockton.org. We're a living, breathing, attempting to be multimedia operation. So, our wonderful sponsors, Hotel Furniture Liquidators out at 1648 North Shaw Road. Nearest cross street is East Fremont. It's east of 99. Get furniture for your home. Books, got them at the Miracle Mile Bookstore, 2210 Pacific Avenue, and Doors Book Recyclery, 2310 Pacific Avenue. Plastics, yes, wonderful plastics. At 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, you'll find custom plastics and signs. Plastic sheets, rods, and tubes. Plastic fabricating done on site. Printing of T-shirts and business cards. They can make you a display. Signage, you got it. The stencils and vehicle and boat graphics. There at Custom Plastics and Signs, 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard between Sutter and San Joaquin. Millennium Computer Repair. Give Sarfraz Khan a call at 209-922-1879. Virus and spyware removal, performance enhancements, computer password removal, data backup. What else we got here? Hard drive repair. Also, buy, sell, and trade old computers. Lowest prices in town for parts. Habitat for, that is, Millennium Computer Repair. Give them a call, 209-922-1879. Habitat for Humanity Restore. Building accoutrements, building supplies, construction materials, tools, equipment are at the Restore. That's at 4933 West Lane here in Stockton, 100 yards south of March Lane. Habitat for Humanity Restore for stuff for your home or building. Tender Donuts, we bake fresh daily. That's Chandrith Sam and Sivke Sam. Out at 1304 East Hammer Lane, Suite 15. Good Donuts, open 7 days a week. Open at 4:30 Monday through Saturday and 5:30 on Sundays, open till 6. That is Tender Donuts, we bake fresh daily, 1304 East Hammer Lane. Leaders, T-shirt printing and business cards, 500 East Lodi Avenue, Suite A at Garfield in Lodi. Those are our sponsors. You can be one too. Come on down. And let us get to some, propositions. And as the gentleman asked me when I was at a motel in Louisville, back in ROTC days, we just did an overnighter. Lady for the evening? Propositions. Not that kind. Okay. 8:29 is when we did audition start, and we had our sponsors. Let us get some light on the subject here. Whoop, me on. Yeah, there's more light about us. And oop-de-boop-de-boop. Okay, our source is the California statewide direct primary election Tuesday official voter information guide. And it's a good thing. Not everybody will be able to read it. I realize that. Some of you might not be able to get to it. So as a public service, I'm going to share with you what's in here. And I know there's more controversial things to talk about, but what we do need to know is the wise path in voting. Now, the Prop 68's the first one. Now the voterguide.sos.ca.gov, that is, the text of this measure can be found there. And this again is Prop 68. Final votes cast by the legislature on Senate Bill 5, that's Prop 68. Senate 27 ayes, 9 noes, and Assembly 56 ayes and 21 noes. Now it authorizes $4 billion in general obligation bonds for creation and rehabilitation of state and local parks, natural resources protection projects, climate adaptation projects, water quality and supply projects, and flood protection projects. Reallocates $100 million of unused bond authority from prior bond acts for the same purpose. Appropriates monies from the general fund to pay off bonds. Requires non-state matching funds for certain projects and favors disadvantaged communities for certain projects. Requires annual audits. Let me get some headset on here to make sure that things are coming through. Oh my, that might help to rotate that. Okay, now we got a voice going over here, and so continuing. Summary of legislative analyst estimate of net state and local government fiscal impact. Increased state bond repayment costs averaging about $200 million annually over the next 40 years. Savings to local governments likely averaging several tens of millions of dollars annually over the next few decades. And state and local natural resource programs support a variety of purposes. This is analysis by the legislative analyst. State provides funds to purchase, protect, improve natural areas, including wilderness and open space areas, forests, wildlife habitats, rivers, lakes and streams, and coastal habitats. State conservation programs often are administered by state conservancies and other departments. Programs often provide grants to local governments or other organizations that carry out projects. There's 280 parks in the state system. State provides funds to local governments to purchase and maintain local and regional parks, trails, and other recreation areas. In flood protection, the state funds the construction and repair of flood protection projects as part of the state's Central Valley Flood Management System. Includes repair and strengthening of levees, designed to divert water away from populated areas during large storms. Now, funds to local governments to complete similar types of projects throughout the state are the state provides. Safe drinking water. State makes loans and grants for local projects designed to improve access to clean drinking water. Water-related projects. The state provides loans and grants to local agencies to construct water recycling and reuse projects, store more water underground, and clean up polluted groundwater. Among examples. Past bond funding for natural resources programs since 2000, voters have authorized about $27 billion in general obligation bonds. $9 million remained available for new projects as of June 2017. And that had come about because of Proposition 1 that was approved in 2014. The $4,100,000,000 in general obligation bonds is essentially $4 billion in new bonds and $100 million in unsold bonds that are being redirected. Bonds for specific purposes. These are uses for Proposition 68 bond funds and natural resources and conservation. Well, natural resources conservation and resiliency will come to a total of $1,547,000,000 to be spent, and four things come under that: state conservancies and wildlife conservation, climate preparedness and habitat resiliency, ocean and coastal protection, river and waterway improvements. Now for parks and recreation, another $1,283,000,000 to be spent on parks and neighborhoods with few parks, local and regional parks, state park restoration, preservation, and protection, and trails, greenways, and rural recreation. For water, $1,270,000,000. Of that, it will be spent in flood protection, groundwater recharge and cleanup, safe drinking water, and water recycling. The proposition also includes several provisions designed to assist disadvantaged communities and very disadvantaged communities. That is generally communities with lower average incomes. The proposition requires that for each use specified in the bond, at least 15% of the funds benefit very disadvantaged communities. Now, fiscal effects estimate that the cost to taxpayers to repay this bond would total $7,800,000,000. Of that, $3,800,000,000 is interest. The average repayment costs of about $200 million per year over the next 40 years. State bond funds could increase total spending on projects by local governments. For example, the availability of bond funds might encourage some local governments to build additional or substantially larger projects than they would otherwise. For some of those projects, the bond requires a local cost share. Local governments would bear some of the additional costs. The proposition could result in savings to local governments to complete the projects funded by this bond. Savings could average several tens of millions of dollars. Exact amount would vary depending on specific projects undertaken by local governments. Yes. Maintain note-taking here. And Prop 68, and that is, we're on pages 8 on. And this is, again, the voter information guide. Alrighty, let us find out. We got a clear picture there of, now, argument in favor of Prop 68 was written by Senator Kevin De Leon. Hey, if that's a familiar name to you, He's running for U.S. Senate. Then Dr. Michael Ong, he's the American Lung Association in California fella. Dan Howells Scaffworth is the California State Director of Clean Water Action. Now, they wrote the argument in favor of Prop 68. A rebuttal to argument against Prop 68 was written by Helen Hutchison, League of Women Voters of California, Mike Sweeney, Executive Director of the Nature Conservancy, and Andrea Tuttle, she's the retired director of the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. So you have the fors. Now here are the against. Now, argument against Prop 68 was written by Andrea Seastrand, president of the Central Coast Taxpayers Association, John Kupal, president of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. I'm a state native. I'll admit it. Well, anyways, I know about Howard Jarvis. I remember him from 40 years ago. Senator John M.W. Morlock, gives you the warm fuzzies. He represents the 37th Senate District. And okay, and he also wrote the rebuttal to argument in favor of Prop 68. So there you got the contenders, a tag team bout, if you will. Now, just I'll share with you argument against Prop 68. This proposition promises to protect and improve California parks. Only $1.3 billion is actually dedicated to improving parks. Money is not distributed fairly and equally across the state. Many residents in inland and rural California will not see any Prop 68 park bond money spent to fix and improve their local state parks. Wow. As if they don't need any improvement. That's a claim that just might not come true. Third, there's estimates that state parks require $1.2 billion for deferred maintenance. Okay, how much do they call for maintenance of the parks? Parks and recreation, parks and neighborhoods with 3 parks, local and regional parks gets $285 million. State park restoration, preservation, and protection gets $218 million. Trails, greenways, and rural recreation gets $55 million. So this is asking for $1.2 billion for deferred maintenance. Well, there's some money going to what is deferred maintenance. And continuing. The department, in 2012, the department threatened to close 70 parks, saying it didn't have the money to keep them open. An audit discovered the department did have the money, but was hiding it from the public. We need to... Prop 68 is the wrong way to protect and improve our state parks. Okay. Addressing drought, water parks, climate, coastal protection, and outdoor access, okay, is a good thing to do. But borrowing for them is not a good thing to do. It's wrong. California has enough debt. It has the worst balance sheet of all 50 states. Its unrestricted net deficit is $250 billion, also known as $250 billion. And considering we have a budget of about $150 billion, that's not all that bad. Bond measures are deceptive. It'll take actually $7.8 billion to pay off the $4 billion. It's claimed $8 billion here in the argument. That means you can expect a tax measure. And your children can expect a tax increase. There's $225 million a year must be paid. Again, they point out it's $200 million. With tight annual budget, where else is this money supposed to come from? State's pension plan contributions are rising. The retiree medical and unfunded liability has just gone up from $15 billion to $91.5 billion. States borrowed debt for schools. It is costing $500 million per year to pay. Then there's a claim about veterans and affordable housing are squeezing out other programs. Minimum wage increases alone will add another $4 billion a year to the state's budget. You don't pay. You pay people. Apparently you must have a lot, working at the minimum wage. $4 billion? Wow. And the rate will go up from $11 to $12 an hour? Well, divided by 2,000, that means you got 2 million people working at the minimum wage over the course of the year. No. That's a bit specious. Sorry about bringing that up, folks. That's not good arguments against the bond measure. Okay. Looks like we got about 8:53 here. And we're going to Prop 69. By the way, the Democratic Party does endorse Prop 68. I don't know about the Republicans, so rnc.org. You can go there and find out where the Republican Party, it can transfer over to the state party, and you can find out specifically where the Republicans stand on it. And now we're at Prop 69, and this requires that certain new transportation revenues be used for transportation purposes. Okay. Existing state, we're going to, figure 1, existing state constitutional restrictions on recently enacted Senate Bill 1 revenues. Now, the gasoline excise tax comes under revenues in 2020, 2021, when all taxes and fees are in effect. Excludes revenues from taxes on fuel used in off-highway vehicles totaling $100 million. The existing state constitution and Senate Bill 1 both allow these revenues to be spent on purposes besides transportation. Alrighty, the restricted for transportation are the gasoline excise tax revenues. Now, those are expected to be $2.4 billion. The diesel excise tax of $700 million. The diesel sales tax of $300 million. The zero emission vehicle fee, that's about $18 million per year. Oh, wait a minute. The diesel sales tax is not restricted for transportation. Neither is the transportation improvement fee. That comes to $1,600,000,000. See if there's any other graphics in here to help explain this, and seeing none. Okay, this passed the Senate 28-10, passed the Assembly 56-24, and the Senate Bill 1 increases revenues from various taxes and fees, dedicates the revenues to transportation purposes, including repairing state highways and local streets and improving mass transit. Let me get things up here where I can see them. Come on, I want to see you. Good, good. Okay, how long we been going now? Looks like about 27 minutes into the show. And see to it that we're okay up here on the YouTube and Facebook. Hey, there I am. And down here on the radio, DJ. Yo, yo, yo. DJing. Looks like we got 8:56 here at the Voice of Stockton. Continuing to march. April 2017, state enacted legislation, Senate Bill 1, to increase annual state funding for transportation in California. It increases revenues from various taxes and fees and dedicates the revenues to transportation services, including repairing state highways and local streets and improving mass transit. The Senate Bill 1 increased gasoline and diesel excise taxes, which are set on a per-gallon basis. It increased vehicle registration fees by a fixed dollar amount. Zero-emission vehicles, model year 2020 and later, it increased vehicle registration. Okay. Created a new transportation improvement fee, which vehicle owners will pay based on the value of their vehicle. Most of the taxes and fees already are in effect. Restrictions on revenues will raise $5 billion annually when all its taxes and fees are in effect. The state constitution restricts those taxes and fees for transportation purposes, though the legislature chose to dedicate all the SB 1 revenues to transportation. The state constitution does not require this for revenues from the transportation improvement fees and diesel sales taxes. The legislature could choose in the future to use the two revenue sources for purposes other than transportation. And those, of course, are the transportation improvement fee and the diesel sales tax. Okay, I got my computer set up here. Come on. Got 8:59 here at the Voice of Stockton. I'm propositioning you this evening further explanations on the propositions. And Prop 69 amends the state constitution to require the legislature spend revenues from the new diesel sales taxes and transportation improvement fees on transportation purposes. This requirement also applies to existing diesel sales tax revenues, not just those imposed by Senate Bill 1. Prohibits the state from 1. Loaning out these revenues except for cash flow purposes, and 2. Using transportation improvement fee revenues to repay state transportation bonds without voter approval. Fiscal effects, no direct fiscal effect, but could affect how some monies are spent. The proposition could affect how some monies are spent in the future by requiring the legislature to continue to spend revenues from diesel sales taxes and transportation improvement fees on transportation purposes rather than other purposes. Looks like we have 9 o'clock, actually 9:01 p.m. You are webtuned to thevoiceofstockton.org. I am Richard Slezak. This is the Saturday Evening News. We're going over Senate Bill 1, Proposition 69. Woo! And continuing. Now, arguments for and rebuttal to argument against. The names are Warren Stanley, Commissioner for the California Highway Patrol; Helen Hutchison, President of the League of Women Voters of California; Alan Zarenberg, California Chamber of Commerce. And then amongst the rebuttal to argument against Prop 69, Gary Passmore, President of Congress of California Seniors; Robert C. Lampsley, California Business Roundtable; and Alice A. Huffman, California State Conference of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Now, rebuttal to argument in favor of Prop 69, that's Assemblyman Frank Bigelow from the 5th Assembly District, and Senator John Morlock from the 37th. And hey, they both also wrote the argument against Prop 68. According to Mr. Morlock, the state is, they are asking you to tell them to only spend the money on that intended purpose. Yeah. This measure is supposed to make us feel better, or it's an indictment that Sacramento can't help itself when it comes to spending taxpayer money. It's wasting billions of dollars for high-speed rail with massive cost overruns, and this proposition is supposed to prevent them from spending drift and it's overstaffed by nearly 3,300 architects and engineers, and it is hiring more. And that's apparently the state of California and all governments herein, that it only outsources 10% of the engineering work when most states outsource half. Well, why do they outsource any? To embarrass me, fiscal conservative tells her to spend on gas tax on highway repairs. Okay, that's what they're doing. Now, most transportation revenues, including gasoline, diesel excise taxes, and vehicle registration fees, are constitutionally protected from being used for purposes other than transportation. Now, Prop 69, I'm reading from the argument against Proposition 69. Prop 69 fails to protect over $1 billion annually from vehicles' weight fees that have been sidetracked since 2011. Prop 69 allows unchecked spending. In addition, Prop 13, California's landmark initiative, limited local property taxes. Then voters passed Proposition 4, which limited the spending of government operations. Prop 69 exempts the recently enacted transportation taxes and fees from the state spending limit. This effectively raises the cap on general fund spending by approximately $2 billion annually. Closing line, I am opposed to the new gas tax. Too many Californians struggle to pay for housing, food, and other necessities. Californians don't need more taxes. Okay, continuing. Rebuttal to argument against Prop 13. Passing Prop 69 will ensure our transportation dollars are spent on transportation improvement projects, including fixing potholes and paving crumbling roads, relieving traffic congestion by making repairs to improve traffic flow, and then fourth, investing in public transportation, the buses and commuter rail to help relieve traffic and improve air quality. Yes on 69 means strong accountability to protect taxpayers. And vote yes on Prop 39 or 50, number 9, 69, to prevent the legislature from diverting our transportation dollars and its generous gasoline tax that transportation funding is spent fixing our roads. Clear as mud. And what time we getting to have here? Looks like 9:08. 9:08, and that's Proposition 70. Now, Prop 70 is not endorsed by the Democratic Party. They say, well, vote no against it or don't vote at all concerning it. And so we go to Prop 70, and the thing is, final votes cast by the legislature, 27 in the Senate, 13 noes in the Senate, 59 in the Assembly, and 11 noes in the Assembly. And this creates temporary higher legislative vote requirement for spending cap and trade revenue. California has several programs created to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, contribute to global climate change and come from various sources. One California program to reduce GHGs, greenhouse gases, is referred to as cap and trade. It began in 2012. The state issues a limited number of permits to small general contractor kind of people. Greenhouse gases. Certain companies responsible for large amounts of GHG emissions must obtain a permit for each ton of GHG they emit. The state gives about half of the permits away to certain industries for free and sells the other half at auctions. A recent state law allows cap and trade fees to operate in California through 2030. Okay, revenue collected used for a variety of programs. Revenue collected from the cap and trade auctions is deposited into a state fund called the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. The state determines how the state determines how to spend money in the GGRF, Greenhouse Gas Reduction Forest, usually through the annual budget process. The money in the fund is generally used for state and local programs to reduce it, as shown figure on. We estimate the state will spend about $3 billion from with the GGRF on various programs in 2017-2018. The state can also spend money from the GGRF with a bill that probably passed with majority votes in both houses of the legislature. Some businesses' equipment exempt from state laws. Okay. Okay. California state and local governments charge the state's tax on retail sales of most goods. Analyst currently reduces state sales tax revenue by about $250 million annually. Okay, proposal. Cap and trade revenue be deposited in a new state fund called Greenhouse Gas Reduction Reserve Fund. That's GGRF. These deposits would continue until the effective date of the bill that, one, spends money from the reserve fund, and two, as passed by each house of the legislature with a 2/3 vote as opposed to the majority vote currently required. The measure also requires that money from the reserve fund be used to fund the same general types of programs that could be funded by the GGRF, and that didn't happen on January 1st or later. Okay, suspends manufacturing exemption until cap and trade revenue is spent. The measure suspends the manufacturing exemption beginning with 1924 and January 1st, 2024, while the exemption is suspended. The full sales tax would be charged when businesses buy certain equipment for such things as manufactured research and development. The suspension would continue until the effective date of a bill that 1. Spends money from the Reserve F Department, or one that and 2 is passed with a bill passed with 2/3 legislative vote. Okay. Continuing to March, we're going over Prop 70. This has to do with cap and trade spending. And you got argument in favor of Prop 70, written by Edmund G. Brown Jr., Alan Zarenberg, who's president of the California Chamber of Commerce, Chad Mays, California State Assembly member. Rebuttal to argument against Proposition 70 also includes Michael D. Shurout, California State Firefighters Association, and Anja Raudbabau, Chief Executive Officer of Western United Dairymen. And these cap and trade revenues cannot be used unless the legislature authorizes such use by a 2/3 majority. Beginning in 2024, cap and trade revenues will accumulate in a reserve fund. And summary of legislative analyst statement of net state and local government fiscal impact. Potential temporary increases in state sales tax, revenue from the sale of manufacturing and certain other equipment. Beginning in 2024, about how could anyone from no increase to a few $100 million annually, possible change in the mix of cap and trade funding provided to state and local programs. Okay, estimated 2017-18 cap and trade spending, incentives for low emission, and it looks like crappy driving, $810 million. High-speed rail, $730 million. Affordable housing near transit, affordable housing near transit, $584 million. Public transit, $438 million. Forestry and fire prevention, $325. Agricultural emission reductions, $250. Other, $187. For a total of $3,324,000,000. Beginning in 2024, the 2/3 vote requirement could at least temporarily change the mix of state and local governments funded by auction revenues compared to what would otherwise occur. Any changes would depend on the future composition and spending priorities of the legislature. This bill suspends manufacturing exemption until cap-and-trade revenue is spent. While the exemption is suspended, the full sales tax would be charged when businesses buy certain equipment for such would be charged when the businesses buy certain equipment for such things as manufacturing, research, development. The suspensions would continue until the effective date of a bill that one spends money from the propositions and two is promised to those who love him. Okay, the suspension would continue until the effective date of a bill that one spends money from the reserve fund and two is passed with a 2/3 legislative vote. Fiscal effects: the state would generate additional sales tax revenues while the manufacturing exemption is suspended. The amount of additional revenue would depend on whether the state was able to get to you. The legislature approved spending money from the reserve fund with a 2/3 vote. If the legislature approves spending money by early 2024, there would be little or no additional revenue. However, if additional state revenue would be up to the governor, secretary of state of said school. We're going to check the time here, folks. We started at 8:14. Our radio show, 8:29 is when we started. Okay. Prop 70, those in favor, again. Governor Brown, Alan Zarenberg, Chad Mays, Michael Shrout. These are the Firefighters Association. Anja Rodabow, Chief Executive Officer, Western United Dairymen. The Chamber of Commerce is for Prop 70. Okay. Then, rebuttal. Okay. Argument against Prop 70, Senator Ben Allen, 26th District, Assembly Member Todd Gloria, 78th District, Helen L. Hutchison, President of the League of Women Voters of California. Okay, rebuttal to argument in favor of Prop 70, Tom Steyer of Next Gen California, Rebecca Saltzman, she's of the California League of Conservation Voters, and Dr. Joseph K. Liu, President of Coalition for Clean Air. According to the LA Times, the industry spent millions of dollars lobbying to water down California's commitment to clean air policies that reduce our dependence on high-polluting fossil fuels. Prop 70 will increase legislative gridlock. This is an argument against 70. It passed with support from both Democratic and Republican lawmakers. Helps ensure that money for priority programs is not diverted to pet projects, safeguards California's historic climate change program. Yet on the other side, it's a recipe for gridlock. By requiring a 2/3 supermajority vote for the legislature to allocate funds paid by polluters, Prop 70 would change the effective system and empower a small minority of politicians to divert the funds away from environmental priorities and prevent them from being spent to reduce pollution and provide needed transportation, housing, and energy services to our communities. So it's that 2/3 requirement. Prop 70 is a critical piece of a historic bipartisan agreement. Okay, rebuttal to argument in favor. Putting power in the hands of a few. Polluters want the ability to veto progress. Bipartisan opposition to Prop 70. So, okay. Other people that are against it: Physicians for Social Responsibility, California Environmental Justice Alliance, Friends of the Earth, Courage Campaign, League of Women Voters. Wow. Are also against it. Prop 71, Democrats are for this one. It passed the legislature 40-0, and the Assembly 78-0. Provides that a ballot measure approved by majority voters shall take effect. And this is to sets effective date for ballot measures legislative constitutional amendment. Kevin Mullen, Ralph Schaefer, and Helen Hutchison are for it. Gary Wesley is against it. Others that are for it, and the rebuttal to argument against Prop 71 are Kevin Mullen, Mark Berman, and Henry Stern. Okay, this thing passed with flying colors. State legislature proposes to change the process. Okay, we're closing in on the end of the show here, but again, this passed overwhelmingly. It does have Democratic Party support. And under existing law, an initiative, statute, referendum, or constitutional amendment approved by the voters takes effect on the day after the election unless otherwise specified by the measure itself. Existing law has created some uncertainty how Californians who are directly impacted by propositions, such as 67, a referendum that was in 2016, relating to the ban on single-use plastic bags. When would it go into effect? Prop 71 prevents such confusion by shifting the implementation date of measures to after election results are certified by Secretary of State, providing a clear effective date for statewide propositions. So it would be after certification. That's what it would establish. Okay, and Prop 72 permits legislature to exclude newly constructed rain capture systems from property tax reassessments requirement. So legislative constitutional amendment passed the Senate 39-0, the Assembly 76-0. The Democratic Party does support it. And no argument against Proposition 72 was submitted. So there you go. This thing's popular. Alrighty, folks. Those are the propositions, and we're out of time for a 1-hour show. So, and we did 68 as well, 70 and 71 and 72. Alrighty, folks. I'm going to take us off the audition run here. So thanks for listening in, and more shows will be coming at future dates to keep you informed. All righty, there's that. And let's get some station IDs going. And, as a matter of fact, I'm going to shut down the YouTube and the Facebook and exit stage left. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Exit stage left. Boom. Whoop, wrong button. Nothing blew up. Then we can, I'm pretty sure, let's get the Delta Flows promo up here going. Bam.
This is Barbara Berrigan-Perea with Delta Flows, a radio show by the Voice of Stockton and Restore the Delta. This is the weekly radio show where we discuss everything Delta related: the environment, water management, water quality, farming, history and culture, public events, recreation, Delta food, and the arts. Tune into Delta Flows on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at KXVS Radio.
The Third City Podcast is a production of Third City Coalition. In our show, we examine case studies in urban development in Stockton and other cities like Stockton across the country, exploring their local and regional impacts. Individual efforts play a role in Third City development, and it starts with you.
Die.
Just want to keep on screaming.